And in this week's episode of Wealth Wise, Leno Corporate Services talks sense about something that can be a very touchy subject for married couples. Here's Amajal Knowles.
How to handle the family finances is often a very contentious matter between husband and wife, sparking some very lively discussions. Cleora Farquharson, Vice President of Business Development and Client Relations at Leno Corporate Services, has some sensible suggestions as to how couples should deal with their finances, keep the peace, and get wealth wise. Here is one of her most important tips.
I would recommend couples pooling their resources together to make sure that the household is taken care of.
Where should we start?
One of the things that I'd actually recommend is they would do a couple's budget. And that budget will entail all the incomes coming out, all the expenses going out, any savings and any investment. When you pool the resources together and you work together, it's going to lead for less stress and better communication with that couple.
What's next?
What I would prefer or I would recommend is a hybrid circumstance where major expenses like mortgages, etc., is pooled into one account, and then personal needs, they would have their own individual accounts.
Now, why should you advocate for a joint account as well as a personal account for each spouse?
I like the idea of a consolidated fund, but we know how people go, right? I think there's going to be a situation where you want to have your own personal account and make sure that, if you have little here, the women, if they have to pay for here, et cetera, nails, et cetera, they can take that from that account. But what I would recommend is that even though they would have their own personal accounts, each party knows the codes, which banks it is, the monies are kept in, et cetera, because life happens. If something happens to that one individual, they'll be able to access those funds by knowing the codes, etc.
Now, if there are children in the family, should they have a part in the family's financial planning?
And I would actually also recommend it if they have children, bring the children into the conversation as well. Let these children know that mom and dad do not go into the back of the yard and pick money off a tree. They have to go to work, and these monies have to be set aside for whatever the expenses that they do have, and it has to be budgeted, right? I think when you start to bring up financial responsible kids, you bring up financial responsible adults, and these add to the growth and development of any country.
And so there's no need to fuss about finances with your spouse anymore. Now you have the right plan so you can stay calm and get more wealth wise with Leno Corporate Services. For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Amajal Knowles.